Dragon Age Origins was rated M for mature by the ESRB and contains blood, intense violence, language, partial nudity, and sexual content. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello everyone! My name is Amaronith and I play games for the internet, and today we're playing Dragon Age Origins, a bonus series, the Mage Origin. Last time we wandered about the tower now that we have our newfound limited freedom as a fully fledged mage. And we met with First Enchanter Irving and Knight-Commander Greagoir, and we met the Grey Warden Duncan, and our friend Jowan seems to want something from us.
I'm glad I caught up to you. Are you done talking with Irving?
Hello again, Jowan. I think I am for now.
I need to talk to you. Do you remember what we discussed this morning?
Why are you whispering? It looks very suspicious.
Shh! I just want to make sure we're not overheard. We should go somewhere else. I don't feel safe talking here.
You're starting to worry me, Jowan.
I've been troubled. I'll explain. Come with me, please. We should be safe
here. You realize there's a priest standing right here.
Not a priest. I am merely an initiate.
Wait, I've seen you before.
I often attend to my duties in this chapel. Perhaps that is why I seem familiar.
A few months ago I told you that I met a girl. This is Lily.
An initiate? That's forbidden.
So you can see why we wish to keep it a secret.
Lily's been given to the Chantry. She's not allowed to have relations with men. If anyone finds out, we'll both be in trouble.
Did you bring me here just to talk about your affair?
I wish that was the only thing I needed to talk about. Remember I said that I didn't think they wanted to give me my Harrowing? I know why. They're going to make me Tranquil. They'll take everything that I am from me. My dreams, hopes, fears, my love for Lily. All gone.
That sounds terrible.
They'll extinguish my humanity. I'll just be a husk, breathing and existing, but not truly living.
How did you find out about this?
I saw the document on Gregoir's table. It authorized the right on Jowan, and Irving had signed it.
What are you going to do?
I need to escape. I need to destroy my phylactery. Without it, they can't track me down. We need your help. Lily and I can't do this on our own.
Give us your word that you will help, and we will tell you what we intend.
You have my word, Lily.
Thank you. We will never forget this.
So, this had better be a good plan.
I can get us into the repository, but there is a problem. There are 2 locks on the phylactery chamber door. The First Enchanter and Knight-Commander each hold 1 key. But it is just a door. There is power enough in this place to destroy all of Ferelden. What's a door to mages?
Are you suggesting we break through it?
I once saw a rod of fire melt through a lock. You could get one from the stockroom, but Owain doesn't release such things to apprentices.
I know what I have to do.
We should stay here. 1 mage at the stockroom will attract less attention than a mage, an apprentice, and an initiate.
Good idea.
Good luck. Our prayers go with you.
Oh, this is bad. This is bad. This is so bad.
Welcome to the Circle's stockroom of magical items. My name is Owain. How may I assist you?
I need a rod of fire.
Rods of fire serve many purposes. Why do you wish to acquire this particular item?
I need the rod for my research into burning things.
Here is the form, Request for Rod of Fire. Have it signed and dated by a senior enchanter. I will release a rod to you once I have the signed form.
I will be back shortly.
Thank you.
Damn. Wait. Senior Enchanter Lenora. You.
Yes?
Can you sign this form for me?
Rod of Fire? No, I'm not signing this. I don't know what you need it for, and I barely know you. Ask someone else.
Anyway, who are you?
Senior Enchanter Leora.
Leora.
In charge of the Circle's laboratory. Is there something you want?
What's that door over there?
That leads to the Circle's cavern storerooms. There are caves running through the rock that the Circle is built upon. But of course, you know this.
Mm-hmm. Can I look inside the cavern?
No, I can't let anyone in there just now.
Why?
There are just things in there that I would prefer to keep safe.
Aren't the Circle... Keep safe. Aren't the Circle stores meant to be used?
Yes, but I am in the midst of stock taking, checking inventory, and I can't let anyone in there in case they mess things up. Yes.
So why are you out here and not in there?
Because I am taking a break. I hate the musty smell of caves, and Look, I'll tell you the truth. Just keep it to yourself. There is an infestation of spiders in the caves. I don't know how they got in there, but it's probably my fault. I was promoted to Senior Enchanter less than a fortnight ago, and I don't want anyone to find out. They'll think I'm incompetent.
If you sign this form, I'll deal with the spiders.
Oh, your form for the Rod of Fire. Yes, I could do that, if you clear out the infestation.
Alright, I'll do it.
Wonderful. Here is the key. Oh, and be careful in there. I'd really like to keep the damage done to the Circle's property to a minimum.
Deal with Leora's infestation. Senior Enchanter Leora has a small problem. The storage case adjacent. Laboratory just with spiders. Blah blah blah. Doesn't have time.
As you say.
This gives me some time to think about this, because I've got a really bad feeling about just helping Jowan and Lily. Like, yes, Jowan is my friend. No, I don't want to see him undergo a rite of tranquility, especially when it's not something that he wants for himself. But also, sneaking around and getting his phylactery destroyed, that's oops. But also they're in love.
Yes.
Gross.
You will pay for that! It will be done. Yes. I knew we couldn't lose. Yes. I knew we couldn't lose.
Oh, Fade Striders. +1 magic. It's just... But also everyone's saying that Jowan's been acting real weird lately.
As you say.
And I suppose that makes sense that he's been acting weird if he's found out that if he's found out he's to be made tranquil. But pair that with the fact that everyone's saying that there's a blood mage. So... Hey.
Done well. I am injured. I will need to tend these wounds in time.
I've never heard that before. I think we need to tell Enchanter Irving.
I will not. Yes.
And one more go around, just in case. Because of things like this. let's go get that Rod of Fire and go talk to Enchanter Irving. Maybe he'll know what to make of all this.
You're back! Are the spiders gone?
I've dealt with your infestation.
Oh, wonderful. You're a lifesaver. Now, where was that form you wanted me to sign?
Here it is.
Right. There you go. How's that?
Excellent, thank you.
It was a pleasure. You'll go far in the circle, I bet.
Let's just...
Welcome to the Circle's stockroom of magical items. My name is Owain. How may I assist you?
Here's the signed form for the Rod of Fire.
Everything looks to be in order. Here is the rod you requested.
Thank you. Let's just...
I trust you saw Duncan back to his quarters?
Yes, why did you ask me to do that?
I wanted you to meet Duncan. He's a most honorable man.
I agree. It was my privilege to have met him.
Grey Wardens are peerless warriors who sacrifice all for our sakes. We can learn much from them. Now, did you need something?
Why do you have books on blood magic on your desk?
I've removed them from the library. I was advised it might be unwise to leave them where any apprentice may read them. They will be put away somewhere very safe. Now, is there anything else?
When is Jowan going through the Harrowing?
When he is ready.
Jowan fears he's going to be made tranquil.
And how does he know this? I suppose the young initiate he dallies about with revealed it to him. You think I didn't know? I did not become first enchanter by keeping my eyes and ears shut.
Why are you doing this to Jowan?
Greagoir says he has proof and eyewitness testimony that Jowan has been practicing blood magic. I cannot say more. Were it left to me, things might be different. But the Chantry, I'm sorry, child. This rite of tranquility will happen.
Then you must know that Jowan plans to escape the circle.
Oh, interesting. What more do you know?
Will telling you earn me a reward?
Your loyalty to the Circle is obvious. Tell me what you know, and your candor will not be forgotten.
Jowan and Lily are plotting to destroy Jowan's phylactery.
Yes, she must be helping him. She would know more about the repository than he would. Do you know anything else?
Yes, Lily told me and I promised to help.
I suspected Lily would tell him of the impending rite if she found out. But I never expected they would have the gall to break into the repository.
What should we do now?
Reporting him to Greagoir and the Templars will accomplish nothing beyond what's already planned. If the Circle must punish one of its own, I will see the Chantry done the same courtesy. Lily will not walk free while my apprentice suffers.
Lily is just trying to save the man she loves.
She is also breaking every vow she ever took.
Will you report Lily's betrayal to Greagoir?
If we mention her involvement, the Chantry will say that she was framed. No, she must be caught in the act.
But didn't you say the Chantry protects us?
If you want to survive, you must learn the rules and realize that sometimes sacrifices are necessary. Jowan will become Tranquil, but Lily must also face the consequences of her actions. How did you learn of their plan? Do they trust you?
They asked me to help them break into the repository.
Perfect. Will you return to them and carry out their scheme? With solid proof of their crime, we can act.
What's in it for me?
No charge from me is beyond your duty to this circle, Mage. You must obey this order.
Fine. I'll do as you ask.
Go. Convince them you will risk all for their cause. I will be outside the repository with a contingent of Templars. Let them see the mischief into which their initiate led our student. Perform well, and your dedication will be rewarded.
I hate waiting. It makes me nervous.
I have the Rod of Fire.
That was quick.
To the repository, then. Freedom awaits.
We're just gonna go jogging.
As you say.
Yeah. Weird. Oh, yeah, okay, she is a rogue.
The Chantry calls this entrance the Victim's Door. It is built of 277 planks, one for each original Templar. It is a reminder of all the dangers those cursed with magic pose.
Okay, but how do we get past it? How do you know this?
Initiates must learn the Circle's history if they are to work with Templars and Mages.
But how do we get past it?
The doors can be opened only by a Templar and a Mage entering together. The Chantry provides the password, which primes the ward, and the mage touches it with mana to release it.
Since you have the password, can't Jowan help you enter?
The ward only responds to the touch of one who has been through the harrowing.
Ah. So what must I do? I trust you have the password.
Yes, I got it from a Templar who recently accompanied a mage into the vault.
So what must I do? Wait, and he wasn't suspicious of you?
We have chatted on many occasions. I believe he trusts me.
What must I do?
First, the password. Sword of the Maker, Tears of the Fade.
I heard something.
The password only primes the door. Now it must feel the touch of mana. Any spell will do, but hurry.
Do you have the rod with you? Melt the locks off.
Use rod on locks.
What's the matter? Why isn't it working?
I don't know.
Lily, something's not right. I can't cast spells here. Nothing works.
These wards carved into the stone. This must be the Templars' work. They negate any magic cast within this area. I should have guessed. Why would Greagoir and Irving use simple keys for such a door? Because magical keys don't work. How do you keep mages away from something? Make their powers completely worthless. That's it then. We're finished. We can't get in.
That or there. Where does it lead?
I don't know. Do you think it's another way in?
That door probably leads to another part of the repository. What are the chances of there being another entrance?
It's worth a try.
We can't get into the chamber the way we planned, but we're not about to give up. We can see where this door leads, but I don't think it'll be easy. It looks locked for one.
The rod will work on those locks, shouldn't it?
Yes. Let's hope they haven't warded that door as well.
Let's hurry. We've wasted enough time. I'm not giving up. We've come too far.
That's the spirit, Jowan. Where were you hiding that?
Oh, that's not good.
We'll not win!
This is the way it has to be!
Do you?
Why is it bleeding? Right.
You shall not touch me! Try not to die here! We have done well.
Ew.
It will be done. Very well.
If it's a fighting one!
Very well.
Stuff. Ay, 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 ay.
As you say. Don't like this.
Looking for trouble, are we?
I'll do my best.
Excellent!
It's a map for this place. Looks like a D&D map. Each square is 5 feet.
Very well.
The squeaking is bizarrely cute. Okay.
Now we fight! We're alive! It will be done.
So...
As you say.
This music reminds me of the, in the animated Sleeping Beauty.
Try not to die here! As you say.
It reminds me of the animated Sleeping Beauty when Aurora is being led by the Maleficent's little will-o'-the-wisp thing.
Yes.
To being to the spinning wheel, so she can prick her finger on it and fall into years and years and years of sleep.
I will not.
I'm not over, you'll see!
Be careful! We'll be done.
Get out of here!
We'll need another way into the phylactery chamber. Let's explore the repository.
Yes, Lily, that's what we've been doing.
It will be done.
Ooh. Excellent.
Wow, that old wall's about to come down any moment. There's something odd about that statue.
Why would this be in here?
How should I know? It's magical. This is a room of magical objects.
Greetings.
Maker's breath, did it just say something?
I am the essence and spirit of Eleni Zenobia, once consort and advisor to Archon Valerius. Prophecy my crime, cursed to stone for foretelling the fall of my lord's house.
Archon Valerius?
I'm not sure. The Archons were the lords of the Imperium.
Forever shall you stand on the threshold of my proud fortress, he said, and tell your lies to all who pass. But my lord found death at the hands of his enemies, and his once proud fortress crumbled to dust, as I foretold.
A Tevinter statue! Don't listen to it. The Tevinter lords dabbled in many forbidden arts. This is a wicked thing.
It must be very old.
It must have been here for years. Look at the dust. I feel a little sorry for it. Her.
Weep not for me, child. Stone they made me, and stone I am, eternal and unfeeling. And I shall endure till the Maker returns to light their fires again.
What does that mean?
Ambiguous rubbish. It could mean anything. I can do it too. The sun grows dark, but lo, here comes the dawn.
Stop talking to it. Please, both of you.
Yes, we have much to do.
Come on, Jowan. Let's go.
What do you think this does?
Why does the Circle keep so many Tevinter artifacts in storage?
It's history, Lily. And it's fascinating.
I can't imagine what this does, though.
I've seen pictures of things like this. They amplify any spell cast into them. I bet we could use this to break into the phylactery chamber.
I suppose we could amplify the rod's power.
See where the mortar might be decaying behind that bookcase? Let's take a closer look.
Enter the phylactery chamber and destroy Jowan's phylactery. You found a cannon that you can use to break into the phylactery chamber. Catch the escape artists in action. You have been tasked by Irving to go through Jowan's plans so that both he and Lily can be caught red-handed.
It should be pretty easy to get this out of the way.
You'll have to help me then.
If we work together, we can shift it. Come on. Now we just need to find a way to get through this wall. Use this with the rod. I'm sure it'll work. Hurry, the clock's ticking.
I'm sure no one heard that. Jowan moved the bookcase, exposing the weakened wall to the phylactery chamber.
This is the phylactery chamber. It worked.
We must find Jowan's phylactery, quickly.
It's a pity they've taken mine to Denerim.
Would you destroy yours too if it were here?
There is little point in discussing that. It's not here.
Right.
We will need to fight shortly.
I can't keep this
Why
up!
did you just die?
Oh, such a
Don't like this.
As you say.
We did well.
Yes.
Why is it so cold in here? You see Jowan's phylactery in a corner of this case. Continue.
That's my phylactery! You found it! I can't believe this tiny vial stands between me and freedom. So fragile. So easy just to be rid of it. To end its hold over me.
You're right there, bud.
And I am free.
I expected a larger room, and many more phylacteries.
Only apprentice phylacteries are stored in the Circle Tower. This tiny room could not hold the phylacteries of every mage who has passed through the tower doors.
Come on, you two. We're done here and we should leave.
The sooner we're out of here, the better.
I do not want to stay here a moment longer.
I just hope the first enchanter keeps his word and that I don't get in trouble for this. What was that? Nothing!
We did it! I can't believe it! Thank you. We could never have...
So what you said was true, Irving.
This looks bad.
Greagoir.
An initiate conspiring with a blood mage. I'm disappointed, Lily. She seems shocked, but fully in control of her own mind. Not a thrall of the blood mage, then. You were right, Irving. The initiate has betrayed us. The Chantry will not let this go unpunished. And this one. Newly a mage and already flouting the rules of the Circle.
It's not her fault. This was my idea.
She is here under my orders, Greagoir. I take full responsibility for her actions.
Wait, you led us into a trap?
Your actions were misguided, Jowan.
Don't you dare speak to me.
Enough! As Knight-Commander of the Templars here assembled, I sentence this blood mage to death. And this initiate has scorned the Chantry and her vows. Take her to Aeonar.
The mage's prison. No. Please, no. Not there.
No! I won't let you touch her!
By the Maker. Blood magic. How could you? You said you never...
I admit, I dabbled. I thought it would make me a better mage.
Blood magic is evil, Jowan. It corrupts people, changes them.
I'm going to give it up. All magic. I just want to be with you, Lily. Please come with me.
I trusted you. I was ready to sacrifice everything for you. I don't know who you are, Blood Mage. Stay away from me.
Are you all right? Where's Greagoir?
I knew it. Blood magic. But to overcome so many, I never thought him capable of such power.
I knew he was acting suspicious.
None of us expected this. Are you all right, Greagoir?
As good as can be expected given the circumstances. If you had let me act sooner, this would not have happened. Now we have a blood mage on the loose and no way to track him down.
He can't have gone far. You could still capture him.
Believe me, we will use our every resource. Where is the girl?
I am here, sir.
You helped a blood mage. Look at all he's hurt.
She did it for love.
Save your breath. I can speak for myself. Knight-Commander, I was wrong. I was accomplice to a blood mage. I will accept whatever punishment you see fit. Even Aeonar.
Get her out of my sight. And you. You were in a repository full of magics that are locked away for a reason.
Did you take anything important from the repository?
No.
Very well.
But your antics have made a mockery of this circle. What are we to do with you?
Nothing. I was just doing as I was told.
As I said, she was working under my orders.
And this improves the situation. The phylactery chamber is forbidden to all save you and me.
I had my reasons.
You're not all-knowing, Irving. You don't know how much influence the Blood Mage might have had. How are we to deal with this?
Knight-Commander, if I may, I'm not only looking for mages to join the King's army, I'm also recruiting for the Grey Wardens. Irving spoke highly of this mage, and I would like her to join the Warden ranks.
What? You've promised him a new Grey Warden?
She has served the Circle well. She would make an excellent Grey Warden.
We look for dedication in our recruits. Fighting the Darkspawn requires such dedication, often at the expense of all else.
I object. You say she operated under your instructions, Irving. But I do not trust her. I must investigate this issue, and I will not release this mage to the Grey Warden.
If the Grey Wardens will have me, I will gladly go.
Greagoir, mages are needed. This mage is needed. Worse things plague this world than blood mages. You know that. I take this young mage under my wing and bear all responsibility for her actions.
This mage does not deserve a place in the Order.
Why? Do we not reward service? This mage has served the Circle well. You have an opportunity few even dream of. Do not squander it.
So I am to be a Grey Warden?
Yes. Be proud, child. You are luckier than you know.
Thank you for everything, First Enchanter.
Come. Your new life awaits.
Well, that sucked.
We will be traveling south through the hinterlands to the ruin of Ostagar, on the edges of the Korcari Wilds. The Tevinter Imperium built Ostagar long ago to prevent the Wilders from invading the northern lowlands. It's fitting we make our stand here, even if we face a different foe within that forest. The King's forces have clashed with the Darkspawn several times, but here is where the bulk of the Horde will show itself. There are only a few Grey Wardens within Ferelden at the moment, but all of us are here. This blight must be stopped, here and now. If it spreads to the north, Ferelden will fall.
Ho there, Duncan.
King Cailan. I didn't expect
A royal welcome? I was beginning to worry you'd miss all the fun.
Not if I could help it, Your Majesty.
Then I'll have the mighty Duncan at my side in battle after all. Glorious. The other wardens told me you'd found a promising recruit. I take it this is she?
Allow me to introduce you, Your Majesty.
There's no need to be so formal, Duncan. We'll be shedding blood together after all. Ho there, friend. Might I know your name?
I'm not going to say it, but I highly doubt it, but anything is possible. So cheeky. I am Solona, Your Majesty.
Pleased to meet you. The Grey Wardens are desperate to bolster their numbers, and I, for one, am glad to help them. I understand you hail from the Circle of Magi. I trust you have some spells to help us in the coming battle.
I will do my best, of course.
Excellent. We have too few mages here. Another is always welcome. Allow me to be the first to welcome you to Ostagar. The Wardens will benefit greatly with you in their ranks.
You're too kind, Your Majesty.
I'm sorry to cut this short, but I should return to my tent. Loghain waits eagerly to bore me with his strategies.
Your uncle sends his greetings and reminds you that Redcliffe forces could be here in less than a week.
Ha! Eamon just wants in on the glory. We've won 3 battles against these monsters, and tomorrow should be no different.
Sounds like the Blight is almost over.
I'm not even sure this is a true Blight. There are plenty of Darkspawn on the field, but alas, we've seen no sign of an Archdemon.
Disappointed, Your Majesty?
I'd hoped for a war like in the tales. A king riding with the fabled Grey Wardens against a tainted god. But I suppose this will have to do. I must go before Loghain sends out a search party. Farewell, Grey Wardens.
What the king said is true. They've won several battles against the Darkspawn here.
Perhaps this isn't really a Blight after all.
So some believe, but I disagree. Despite the victory so far, the Darkspawn horde grows larger with each passing day. By now they look to outnumber us. I know there is an Archdemon behind this, but I cannot ask the king to act solely on my feeling.
What would you have him do?
Wait for reinforcements. We sent a call out west to the Grey Wardens of Orlais, but it will be many days before they can join us. Our numbers in Ferelden are too few. We must do what we can, and look to turn Loghain to make up the difference. To that end, we should proceed with the joining ritual without delay.
What do you mean? What ritual?
Every recruit must go through a secret ritual we call the joining in order to become a Grey Warden. The ritual is brief, but some preparation is required. We must begin soon.
Why is this ritual so secret?
The joining is dangerous. I cannot speak more of it except to say that you will learn all in good time. Until then, you must trust that what is done is necessary.
Is this anything like the Harrowing?
It is an ordeal. I'm sorry that you must endure another so soon.
Am I the only recruit you have?
No, there are 2 other recruits here already. They have been waiting for us to arrive.
What do you need me to do?
Feel free to explore the camp here as you wish. All I ask is that you do not leave it for the time being. There is another Grey Warden in the camp by the name of Alistair. When you're ready, seek him out and tell him it's time to summon the other recruits. Until then, I have business I must attend to. You may find me at the Grey Warden tent on the other side of this bridge, should you need to.
And that is the last of the origins. The Mage origin. Oh, God. This one took a lot longer than I remember it taking. However, as with all other origins, now we read all the Codex Entries that we collected. We collected a lot. I think this is the most. Oh gosh, this episode's gonna be so long. I'm sorry, you guys. Oh gosh. Yeah. Alright, let's go. Starting with Article 3, Archdemon. In darkness eternal they searched for those who had goaded them on, until at last they found their prize, their god, their betrayer, the sleeping dragon Dumat. Their taint twisted even the false god, and the whisperer awoke at last, in pain and horror, and led them to wreak havoc upon all the nations of the world. The first Blight. Thrinaudis, 8-7. The false dragon gods of the Tevinter Imperium lie buried deep within the earth, where they have been imprisoned since the Maker cast them down. No one knows what it is that drives the Darkspawn in their relentless search for the sleeping old gods. Perhaps it is instincts, as moth will fly into torch flames. Perhaps there is some remnant of desire for vengeance upon the ones who goaded the Magisters to assault heaven. Whatever the reason, when Darkspawn find one of these ancient dragons, it is immediately afflicted by the taint. It awakens, twisted and corrupted, and leads the Darkspawn in a full-scale invasion of the land. A Blight. Article 9. Deepstalker. A fool trusts his eyes. A wise man fears every rock is a Deepstalker. Dwarven saying. Possibly the strangest of all the creatures found in the Deep Roads is the Deepstalker. Tezpadam, as the dwarves call them, hunt in packs, generally by burrowing underground and then striking when their prey is in their midst. Stalkers come in several types. Spitters have venom glands that can spit secretions that slow or injure their prey. Jumpers hurl themselves at their targets, knocking them down and making the kill easier. The most common variety scares its prey, leaving the unfortunate victim helpless against the rest of the pack. Article 21. Rage Demon. Encountered in the Fade, the true form of a Rage Demon is a frightening sight, a thing of pure fire, its body seemingly made of amorphous lava, and its eyes two pin pricks of baleful light radiating from its core. The abilities of such a demon center on the fire it generates. It burns those who come near, and the most powerful of its kind are able to lash out with bolts of fire and even firestorms that can affect entire areas. Fortunately, even powerful rage demons are less intelligent than most other varieties. Their tactics are simple. Attack an enemy on sight with as much force as possible until it perishes. Some rage demons carry over their heat-based abilities into possessed hosts. But otherwise the true form is mostly seen outside of the Fade when it's specifically summoned by a mage to do his bidding. Article 27. Sloth Demon. And I looked at the creature, and it had become me. A veritable copy of my form, of my very mind, stared back at me as if from within a mirror. I thought surely that this was a trick, an illusion meant to put me off guard, but as I engaged the thing with my sword, it fought me with maneuvers that I recognized. It parried as I parried, it swung as I swung. It spoke to me and said things that only I could know. I think this demon of sloth has no form or identity of its own. It is envy as much as sloth, I believe, and mine was not the first shape it had stole that day. An excerpt from a transcribed deposition of Tyrannus, Templar Commander of Cumberland, 390 Towers. The most difficult assumption for some who study demons to overcome is the notion that a sloth demon is, in and of itself, slothful. If that were so, it seems highly unlikely that any such demon would cross the veil into our own world, or once here would fight to possess any creature with a will of its own, and we know both these things to not be the case. Certainly, some demons are lazy and complacent, but who knows, perhaps these creatures even cultivate such a reputation. The truth is that demons of sloth are named so because this is the portion of the human psyche that they feed upon. Doubt, apathy, entropy. They seek to spread these things. The sloth demon hides in its forms, a master of shapes and disguises, always in the last place you look, and from its hiding place it spreads its influence. A community afflicted by a demon of sloth could soon become a dilapidated pit where injustices are allowed to pass without comment, and none of the residents could be aware that such a change had even taken place. The sloth demon weakens, tires, tears at the edges of consciousness, and would much rather render its victim helpless than engage in a true conflict. Such creatures are best faced only with a great deal of will, and only with an eye to piercing their many disguises. Article 28. Giant Spider. Giant spiders tend to appear in old ruins and other places where the veil has become thin because of magical disturbances or a great number of deaths. In such places, spirits and demons pass into the world of the living and attempt to take control over living beings, spiders among them. Not all scholars accept this explanation for the presence of these beasts, however. Some claim that the thinning veil allows magic to leak from the Fade, tainting such creatures as these spiders to transform into larger and more potent creatures than they ever could become naturally. While such spiders are known to possess powerful poisons and the ability to fling their webs at opponents in combat, studies of them have been few and the full range of their abilities are unknown. Article 31. Wisp. A great deal is made of the most powerful demons, those that create abominations and those that have changed the history of Thedas. It is often forgotten that not all demons are such awe-inspiring beings. Some that break through the cracks in the veil into our world are known as wisps. A sliver of a thought that once was. A wisp is a demon that has lost its power. Either it has existed in our world for too long without finding a true host, or it has been destroyed, often, so we've found, by other demons. What remains of its mind clings tightly to the one concept that created it, a hatred of all things living. While its ability to target a living creature is limited, these wisps often mindlessly attack when encountered in the Fade. In the living world, they often have been known to maliciously lure the living into dangerous areas, being mistaken for lanterns or other civilized light sources. This does, however, seem to be the very limit of their cunning. From the journal of former senior enchanter Malleus, once of the Circle of Ravain, declared apostate in 920 Dragon Age. Article 32. Wolf. It is rather unfair the reputation that the wolf possesses in Ferelden. For a people that so clearly adore their hounds, Fereldans simultaneously harbor a distrust of wolves that borders on the unreasonable. Unreasonable, that is, if one were not familiar with the ancient legends regarding werewolves. There was a time in Ferelden's past when demons inhabited the bodies of wolves in great numbers, causing the wars against werewolves and spreading great fear and panic. The werewolves were slain, but even today the noble wolf is still looked upon with distrust. From Legends of Ferelden by Mother Aelis of Denerim, 910 Dragon. An attack by wolves upon civilized folk happens rarely and often only in times of desperation, and even then, only when the wolves have the advantage of numbers. This can change during a blight. When Darkspawn rise onto the surface, their presence dramatically alters the savage nature of normal beasts. In Blight's past, as the corruption of the Darkspawn spread through the wilder areas of Thedas, it would infect the animals found there, and the more powerful of them would survive and be transformed into a more vicious and dangerous beast. A Blight wolf is one such example, mad with the pain of its infection, and only through the overriding command of the Darkspawn does it still retain some semblance of its pack instincts. Blight wolves are always found in large groups and will tend to overwhelm a single target if they can, using their numbers to their advantage. It is fortunate that these creatures rarely survive their corruption for very long. Article 61. The Aeonar. When the Imperium occupied the area that is present-day Ferelden, they had 2 sites dedicated to magical experimentation at the extreme ends of the Imperial Highway. The southern one was the Fortress of Ostagar, which looked out over the Korcari Wilds. The northern one was the Aeonar, although the exact location is now a secret known only to a handful of Templars. Whatever it was the Tevinter were trying to discover at Aeonar, their work was never completed. The fortress was overrun by disciples of Andraste upon hearing the news of her death. According to legend, it was a massacre, eerily silent, for the invaders caught the mages while all but one of them were in the Fade. The site was left structurally sound but spiritually damaged. Possibly because of this, the Chantry chose to put it to use as a prison. Accused Maleficarum and apostates are held in the confines of Aeonar. Those who have a powerful connection to the Fade, and particularly to demons, will inevitably attract something across the veil, making the guilty somewhat easier to tell from the innocent. From Of Fires, Circles, and Templars, A History of Magic in the Chantry, by Sister Petrine, Chantry Scholar. Article 62. Andraste, Bride of the Maker. There was once a tiny fishing village on the waking sea that was set upon by the Tevinter Imperium, which enslaved the villagers to be sold in the markets of Minrathous, leaving behind only the old and the infirm. One of the captives was the child Andraste. She was raised in slavery in a foreign land. She escaped, then made the long and treacherous journey back to her homeland alone. She rose from nothing to be the wife of an Alamari warlord. Each day she sang to the gods, asking them to help her people who remained as slaves in Tevinter. The false gods of the mountains and the winds did not answer her, but the true god did. The Maker spoke. He showed her all the works of his hands, the Fade, the world, and all the creatures therein. He showed her how men had forgotten him, lavishing devotion upon mute idols and demons, and how he left them to their fate. But her voice had reached him, and so captivated him that he offered her a place at his side, that she might rule all of creation. But Andraste would not forsake her people. She begged the Maker to return to save his children from the cruelty of the Imperium. Reluctantly, the Maker agreed to give man another chance. Andraste went back to her husband Maferath and told him all that the Maker had revealed to her. Together they rallied the Alamari and marched forth against the mage lords of the Imperium, and the Maker was with them. The Maker's sword was creation itself, fire and flood, famine and earthquake. Everywhere they went, Andraste sang to the people of the Maker, and they heard her. The ranks of Andraste's followers grew until they were a vast tide washing over the Imperium. And when Maferath saw that the people loved Andraste and not him... A worm grew within his heart, gnawing upon it. At last the armies of Andraste and Maferath stood before the very gates of Minrathous, but Andraste was not with them, for Maferath had schemed in secret to hand Andraste over to the Tevinter. For this, the Archon would give Maferath all the lands to the south of the Waking Sea. And so, before all the armies of the Alamari and of Tevinter, Andraste was tied to a stake and burned while her earthly husband turned his armies aside and did nothing, for his heart had been devoured. But as he watched the pyre, the Archon softened. He took pity on Andraste and drew his sword, and granted her the mercy of a quick death. The Maker wept for his beloved, cursed Maferath, cursed mankind for their betrayal, and turned once again from creation, taking only Andraste with him. And Our Lady sits still at his side, where she still urges him to take pity on his children. From the Sermons of Justinia II. Article 63. The Rite of Annulment. In the 83rd year of the Glory Age, one of the mages of the Navaran Circle was found practicing forbidden magic. The Templars executed him swiftly, but this brewed discontent among the Navara Circle. The mages made several magical attacks against the Templars, vengeance for the executed mage, but the Knight-Commander was unable to track down which were responsible. 3 months later, the mages summoned a demon and turned it loose against their Templar watchers. Demons, however, are not easily controlled. After killing the first wave of Templars who tried to contain it, the demon took possession of one of its summoners. The resulting abomination slaughtered Templars and mages both before escaping into the countryside. The Grand Cleric sent a legion of Templars to hunt the fugitive. They killed the abomination a year later, but by that time it had slain 70 people. Divine Galatea, responding to the catastrophe in Navarra and hoping to prevent further incidents, granted all the current clerics of the Chantry the power to purge a circle entirely if they rule it irredeemable. This Rite of Annulment has been performed 17 times in the last 700 years. From Of Fires, Circles, and Templars, A History of Magic in the Chantry by Sister Petrine, Chantry Scholar. Article 65. The Black City. No traveler to the Fade can fail to spot the Black City, as it is one of the few constants of that ever-changing place. No matter where one might be, the city is visible, always far off, for it seems that the only rule of geography in the Fade is that all points are equidistant from the Black City. The chant teaches that the Black City was once the seat of the Maker, from whence he ruled the Fade, left empty when men turned away from him. Dreamers do not go there, nor do spirits. Even the most powerful demons seem to avoid the place. It was golden and beautiful once, so the story goes, until a group of powerful Magister Lords from the Tevinter Imperium devised a means of breaking in. When they did so, their presence defiled the city, turning it black, which was perhaps the least of their worries. From Beyond the Veil, Spirits and Demons by Enchanter Mirdramel. Article 66. The Chant of Light, the Blight. No matter their power, their triumphs, the mage lords of Tevinter were men and doomed to die. Then a voice whispered within their hearts, "Shall you surrender your power to time like the beasts of the fields? You are the lords of the earth. Go forth to claim the empty throne of heaven and be gods." In secret they worked, magic upon magic. All their power and all their vanity they turned against the veil, until at last it gave way. Above them a river of light, before them the throne of heaven waiting. Beneath their feet the footprints of the Maker, and all around them echoed a vast silence. But when they took a single step toward the empty throne, a great voice cried out, shaking the very foundations of heaven and earth. "And so is the golden city blackened with each step you take in my hall. Marvel at perfection, for it is fleeting. You have brought sin to heaven and doom upon all the world." Violently they were cast down, for no mortal may walk bodily in the realm of dreams, bearing the mark of their crime, bodies so maimed and destroyed that none should see them as know them for men. Deep into the earth they fled, away from the light. In darkness eternal they searched for those who had goaded them on, until at last they found their prize, their god, their betrayer, the sleeping dragon Dumat. Their taint twisted even the false god, and the whisperer awoke at last in pain and horror, and led them to wreak havoc upon all the nations of the world. The first Blight. From Threnodies 8. Article 68. The Maker. There was no word for heaven or for earth, for sea or sky. All that existed was silence. Then the voice of the Maker rang out, the first word, and his word became all that might be. Dream and idea, hope and fear, endless possibilities. And from it made his firstborn. And he said to them, "In my image I forge you, to you I give dominion over all that exists. By your will may all things be done." And then in the center of heaven he called forth a city with towers of gold, streets with music for cobblestones, and banners which flew without wind. There he dwelled, waiting to see the wonders his children would create. The children of the Maker gathered before his golden throne and sang hymns of praise unending, but their songs were the songs of the cobblestones. They shone with the golden light reflected from the Maker's throne. They held forth the banners that flew on their own. And the voice of the Maker shook the Fade, saying, "In my image I have wrought. My firstborn, you had been given dominion over all that exists. By your will all things are done, yet you do nothing. The realm I have given you is formless, ever-changing, and he knew that he had wrought amiss. So the Maker turned from his firstborn and took from the Fade a measure of its living flesh, and placed it apart from the spirits, and spoke to it, saying, Here I decree opposition in all things, for earth, sky, for winter, summer, for darkness, light. By my will alone is balance sundered, and the world is given new life. And no longer was it formless, ever-changing, but held fast, immutable, with words for heaven and for earth, sea and sky. And at last did the Maker from the living world make men, immutable as the substance of the earth, with souls made of dream and idea, hope and fear, endless possibilities. Then the Maker said, To you, my second-born, I grant this gift. In your heart shall burn an unquenchable flame, all-consuming and never satisfied. From the Fade I crafted you, and to the Fade you shall return each night in dreams, that you may always remember me. Then the Maker sealed the gates of the Golden City, and there he dwelled, waiting to see the wonders his children would create. Thernaughties 5, 1-8. Article 73. The founding of the Chantry. Cordelius Dracon, king of the city-state of Orlais, was a man of uncommon ambition. In the year 15 Ancient, the young king began construction of the great temple dedicated to the Maker, and declared that by its completion he would not only have united the warring city-states of the south, he would have brought Andrastian belief to the world. In 3 Ancient, the temple was completed. There, in its heart, Dracon knelt before the eternal flame of Andraste and was crowned the ruler of the Empire of Orlais. His first act as emperor, to declare the Chantry as the established Andrastian religion of the Empire. It took 3 years and several hundred votes before Olessa of Montsamad was elected to lead the new Chantry. Upon her coronation as divine, she took the name Justinia, in honor of the disciple who recorded Andraste's songs. In that moment, the ancient era ended, and the divine age began. From Ferelden, Folklore and History, by Sister Petrine, Chantry Scholar. Article 74. The Fraternity of Enchanters. Another aspect of circle life is the fraternity. When a mage becomes an enchanter, he may ally himself with a fraternity. These are cliques that cross circle boundaries, mages of common interests and goals who band together to ensure that their voice is heard within the College of Magi in Cumberland. The largest fraternities currently are the Loyalists, who advocate loyalty and obedience to the Chantry, the Equitarians, who advocate temperance and follow a distinct code of conduct which they believe all mages should hold themselves to, the Libertarians, a growing fraternity publicly maintaining greater power for the circles, but secretly advocating a complete split from the Chantry, a dangerous opinion, naturally. The Isolationists, a small group that advocates withdrawing to remote territories in order to avoid conflicts with the general populace. The Lacrotians, who maintain that the circle must do what is profitable first and foremost. They prioritize the accumulation of wealth with the gaining of political influence a close second. So far, an alliance between the Loyalists and the Equitarians has prevented the Libertarians from gaining much headway, but there are signs that the Equitarians may throw their support in with the Libertarians. If that happens, many mages predict it will come to civil war among the circles. From The Circles of Magi, A History, by First Enchanter Josephus. Article 75. Hierarchy of the Circle. It is no simple matter safeguarding ordinary men from mages and mages from themselves. Each circle tower must have some measure of self-government, for it is ever the Maker's will that men be given the power to take responsibility for our own actions, to sin and fail, as well as to achieve the highest grace and glory on our own strength. You, who will be tasked with the protection of the circle, must be aware of its workings. The first enchanter is the heart of any tower. He will determine the course his circle will take. He will choose which apprentices may be tested and made of full mages, and you will work most closely with him. Assisting the first enchanter will be the senior enchanters, a small council of the most trusted and experienced magi in the tower. From this group, the next first enchanter is always chosen. Beneath the council are the enchanters. These are the teachers and mentors of the tower, and you must get to know them in order to keep your finger on the pulse of the circle, for the enchanters will always know what is happening among the children. All those who have passed their harrowing but have not taken their apprentices are mages. This is where the most trouble in the circle lies, in the idleness and inexperience of youth. The untested apprentices are the most numerous denizens of any tower, but they more often pose threats to themselves due to their lack of training than to anyone else. Knight-Commander Serrain of the Chantry Templars in a letter to his successor. Article 76. History of the Circle. It is a truth universally acknowledged that nothing is more successful at inspiring a person to mischief as being told not to do something. Unfortunately, the Chantry of the Divine Age had some trouble with obvious truths. Although it did not outlaw magic, quite the contrary, as the Chantry relied upon magic to kindle the eternal flame which burns in every brazier and every chantry, it relegated mages to lighting candles and lamps, perhaps occasional dusting of rafters and eaves. I will give my readers a moment to contemplate how well such a role satisfied the mages of the time. It surprised absolutely no one when the mages of Val Royeaux, in protest, snuffed the sacred flames of the cathedral and barricaded themselves inside the choir loft. No one, that is, but Divine Ambrosia II, who was outraged and attempted to order an exalted march upon her own cathedral. Even her most devout Templars discouraged that idea. For 21 days the fires remained unlit while negotiations were conducted, legend tells us, by shouting back and forth from the loft. The mages went cheerily into exile in a remote fortress outside of the capital, where they would be kept under the watchful eye of the Templars and a council of their own elder magi. Outside of normal society and outside of the Chantry, the mages would form their own closed society, the Circle, separated for the first time in human history. From Of Fires, Circles, and Templars, A History of Magic in the Chantry, by Sister Patrine, Chantry Scholar. Article 77. The Fade. The study of the Fade is as old as humankind. For so long as men have dreamed, we have walked in its twisting paths, sometimes catching a glimpse of the city at its heart, always as close as our own thoughts, but impossibly separated from our world. The Tevinter Imperium once spent vast fortunes of gold, lyrium, and human slaves in an effort to map the terrain of the Fade, an ultimately futile endeavor. Although portions of it belong to powerful spirits, all of the Fade is in constant flux. The Imperium succeeded in finding the disparate and ever-shifting realms of a dozen demon lords, as well as cataloging... Oh, goodness, I'm sorry. Cataloging a few hundred types of spirits before they were forced to abandon the project. The relationship of dreamers to the Fade is complex. Even when entering the Fade through the use of lyrium, mortals are not able to control or affect it. The spirits who dwell there, however, can, and as the Chantry teaches us, the great flaw of the spirits is that they have neither imagination nor ambition. They create what they see through their sleeping visitors, building elaborate copies of our cities, people, and events, which, like the reflections in a mirror, ultimately lack context or life of their own. Even the most powerful demons merely plagiarize the worst thoughts and fears of mortals and build their realms with no other ambition than to taste life. From Tranquility and the Role of the Fade in Human Culture, by First Enchanter Josephus. Article 78. The Harrowing. Among apprentices of the Circle, nothing is regarded with more fear than the Harrowing. Little is known about this rite of passage, and that alone would be cause for dread, but it is well understood that only those apprentices who pass the trial are ever seen again. They return as full members of the Circle of Magi. Of those who fail, nothing is known. Perhaps they are sent away in disgrace. Perhaps they are killed on the spot. I heard one patently ridiculous rumor among the Circle at Ravane, which claimed that failed apprentices were transformed into pigs, fattened up and served at dinner to the senior enchanters, but I could find no evidence that the Ravani circles ate any particular quantity of pork. From In Pursuit of Knowledge, The Travels of a Chantry Scholar, by Brother Genitivi. Article 79. Lyrium. More than half the wealth of Orzammar comes from a single extremely rare substance, Lyrium. The Chantry believes it to be the waters of the Fade, mentioned in the Canticle of Thernotes, the very stuff of creation itself, from whence the Maker fashioned the world. Only a handful of mining caste families hazard extracting the ore, finding veins in the stone quite literally by ear, for in its raw form, Lyrium sings, and the discerning can hear the sound even through solid rock. Even though dwarves have a natural resistance, raw Lyrium is dangerous for all but the most experienced of the mining caste to handle. Even for dwarves, exposure to the unprocessed mineral can cause deafness or memory loss. For humans and elves, direct contact with Lyrium ore produces nausea, blistering of the skin, and dementia. Mages cannot even approach unprocessed Lyrium. Doing so is invariably fatal. Despite its dangers, Lyrium is the single most valuable mineral currently known. In the Tevinter Imperium, it has been known to command a higher price than diamond. The dwarves sell very little of the processed mineral to the surface, giving the greater portion of what they mine to their own smiths, who use it in the forging of all truly superior dwarven weapons and armor. What processed Lyrium is sold on the surface goes only to the Chantry, who strictly control the supply. From the Chantry, it is dispensed both to the Templars, who make use of it in tracking and fighting Maleficarum, and to the Circle. In the hands of the Circle, Lyrium reaches its fullest potential. Their Fomari craftsmen transform it into an array of useful items, from the practical, such as magically hardened stone for construction, to the legendary silver armor of King Cailan. When mixed into liquid and ingested, Lyrium allows mages to enter the Fade fully aware, unlike all others who reach it only while dreaming. Such potions can also be used to aid in the casting of especially taxing spells, for a short time granting a mage far greater power than he normally wields. Lyrium has its costs, however. Prolonged use becomes addictive, the cravings unbearable. Over time, Templars grow disoriented, incapable of distinguishing memory from present, or dream from waking. They frequently become paranoid, as their worst memories and nightmares haunt their waking hours. Mages have additionally been known to suffer physical mutation. The Magister Lords of the Tevinter Imperium were widely reputed to have been so affected by their years of Lyrium use that they could not be recognized by their own kin, nor even as creatures that had once been human. From In Pursuit of Knowledge, The Travel of a Chantry Scholar, by Brother Genitivi. Article 80. Maleficarum. It has been asked, what are Maleficarum? How shall we know them? I have been as troubled by this question as you. You have come to me for the wisdom of the Maker, but none have seen the Maker's heart saved beloved Andraste. And so I have done as all mortals must, and looked to the words of his prophet for answers, and there I found respite from a troubled mind. For she has said to us, magic exists to serve man and never to rule over him. Therefore I say to you, they who work magic which dominates the minds and hearts of others, they have transgressed the Maker's law. Also Our Lady said to us, those who bring harm without provocation to the least of his children are hated and accursed by the Maker. And so it is made clear to me, as it should be to all of us, to us all, that magic which fuels itself by harming others by the letting of blood is hated by the Maker. Those mages who honor the Maker and keep his laws we welcome as our brothers and sisters. Those who reject the laws of the Maker and the words of his prophet are apostate. They shall be cast out and given no place among us. From the Sermons of Justinia I. Article 81. Mana and the use of magic. Mana is that which defines a mage. It is potential that dwells within a person but does not always manifest itself. All men are connected to the Fade. We go there to dream, but only those with this potential may draw upon its power. Mana is, then, a measurement of one's ability to draw power from the Fade, and it is this power that is expended in magic. As in all other things, it has limits. Just as a man has the strength to lift only so much weight and no more, a mage cannot work more magic at one time than his mana allows. If he wishes to work magic that would be beyond his strength, the mage must bolster his mana with Lyrium. Without Lyrium, it is possible for the reckless to expend their own life force in the working of magic, and occasionally ambitious apprentices injure or even kill themselves by overexertion. From the Lectures of First Enchanter Wenceslas. Article 84. Blood Magic, the Forbidden School. Foul and corrupt are you who have taken my gift and turned it against my children. Transfigurations, 1810. The ancient Tevinter did not originally consider blood magic a school of its own. Rather, they saw it as a means to achieve greater power in any school of magic. The name, of course, refers to the fact that the magic of this type uses life, specifically in the form of blood instead of mana. It was common practice at one time for a magister to keep a number of slaves on hand so that should he undertake the workings of a spell that was physically beyond his abilities, he could use the blood of his slaves to bolster the casting. Over time, however, the Imperium discovered types of spells that could only be worked by blood. Although Lyrium would allow a mage to send his conscious mind into the Fade, blood would allow him to find the sleeping minds of others, view their dreams, and even influence or dominate their thoughts. Just as treacherous, blood magic allows the veil to be opened completely so that demons may physically pass through it into our world. The rise of the Chant of Light and the subsequent fall of the Old Imperium has led blood magic being all but stamped out, as it should be, for it poses nearly as great a danger to those who would practice it as to the world at large. From The Four Schools, a Treatise by First Enchanter Josephus. Article 85. The Four Schools of Magic. Creation. Opposition in all things, for earth, sky, for winter, summer, for darkness, light, by my will alone is balance sundered, and the world given new life. Thernates 5:5. The school of creation, sometimes called the school of nature, is the second of the schools of matter, the balancing force and complement of entropy. Creation magic manipulates natural forces, transforming what exists and bringing new things into being. Creation requires considerable finesse, more than any other school, and is therefore rarely mastered. Those mages who have made a serious study of creation are the highest in demand, useful in times of peace as well as war. From The Four Schools, a Treatise by First Enchanter Josephus. Article 86. The Four Schools of Magic. Entropy. To you, my second-born, I grant this gift. In your heart shall burn an unquenchable flame, all-consuming and never satisfied. Thernates 5:7. The second of the two schools of matter, entropy, is the opposing force of creation. For this reason, it is often called the school of negation. Nothing lives without death. Time inevitably brings an end to all things in the material world, and yet in this ending is the seed of a beginning. A river may flood its banks, causing havoc, but bring new life to its floodplain. The fire that burns a forest ushers in new growth, and so it is with entropic magic that we manipulate the forces of erosion, decay, and destruction to create anew. From The Four Schools, a Treatise by First Enchanter Josephus. Article 87. The Four Schools of Magic. Primal. For those who oppose thee shall know the wrath of heaven. Field and forest shall burn, the seas shall rise and devour them, the wind shall tear their nations from the face of the earth, lightning shall rain down from the sky, they shall cry out to their false gods and find silence. Andraste 7:19. Sometimes called the School of Power, the Primal School is the second of the schools of energy, balanced by spirit, and concerns the most visible and tangible forces of nature itself. This is the magic of war. Fire, ice, and lightning, devastation. This is what the vast majority imagines when they hear the word magic. From The Four Schools, a Treatise by First Enchanter Josephus. Article 88. The Four Schools of Magic. Spirit. And the voice of the Maker shook the Fade, saying, In my image I have wrought my firstborn. You have been given dominion over all that exists. By your will all things are done, yet you do nothing. The realm I have given you is formless, ever-changing. Thernates 5:4. The first of the two schools of energy, spirit, is opposed by the primal school. It is the school of mystery, the ephemeral school. This is the study of the invisible energies which surround us at all times, yet are outside of nature. It is from the Fade itself that this magic draws its power. Students of this school cover everything from direct manipulation of mana and spell energies to the study and summoning of spirits themselves. By its nature, an esoteric school, as most others know virtually nothing about the Fade, studies of spirit magic are often misunderstood by the general populace, or even confused for blood magic, an unfortunate fate for a most useful branch of study. From the Four Schools, A Triste, by First Enchanter Josephus. Article 89, Beyond the Veil, Spirits and Demons. It is challenging enough for the casual observer to tell the difference between the Fade and the creatures that live within it, let alone between one type of spirit and another. In truth, there is little that distinguishes them, even for the most astute mages, since spirits are not physical entities and are therefore not restricted to recognizable forms, or even having a form at all. One can never tell for certain what is alive and what is merely part of the scenery. It is therefore advisable for the inexperienced researcher to greet all objects he encounters. Typically, we misuse the term spirit to refer only to the benign, or at least less malevolent, creatures of the Fade, but in truth all the denizens of the realm beyond the veil are spirits. As the Chant of Light notes, everything within the Fade is a mimicry of our world, a poor imitation, for the spirits do not remotely understand what they are copying. It is no surprise that much of the Fade appears like a manuscript translated from Tevinter into Orlesian and back again by drunken initiates. In general, spirits are not complex, or rather, they are not complex as we understand such things. Each one seizes upon a single facet of human experience: rage, hunger, compassion, hope, etc. This one idea becomes their identity. We classify as demons those spirits who identify themselves with darker human emotions and ideas. The most common and weakest form of demon one encounters in the Fade is the Rage Demon. They are much like perpetually boiling kettles, for they exist only to vent hatred, but rarely have an object to hate. Somewhat above these are the Hunger Demons, who do little but eat or attempt to eat everything they encounter, including other demons. This is rarely successful. Then there are the Sloth Demons. These are the first intelligent creatures one typically finds in the Fade. They are dangerous only on those rare occasions that they can be induced to get up and do harm. Desire Demons are more clever and far more powerful, using all forms of bribery to induce mortals into their realms. Wealth, love, vengeance, whatever lies closest to your heart. The most powerful demons yet encountered are the Pride Demons, perhaps because they, among all their kind, most resemble men. From Beyond the Veil, Spirits and Demons, by Enchanter Mirdrumel. Article 90, The Tranquil. Although apprentices do not know the nature of the Harrowing, all of them understand its consequences. They either pass and become full mages, or they are never seen again. Those who fear to undertake this rite of passage, or those who are deemed too weak or unstable, are given the Rite of Tranquility instead. The actual procedure, like the Harrowing, is secret, but the results are just as well known. The rite severs the connection to the Fade. The Tranquil, therefore, do not dream. This removes the greatest danger that threatens a weak or unprepared mage, the potential to attract demons across the veil. But this is the least of Tranquility's effects, for the absence of dreams brings with it the end of all magical ability, as well as all emotion. The Tranquil, ironically, resemble sleepwalkers, never entirely awake nor asleep. They are still part of our circle, however, and some might say they are the most critical part. They have incredible powers of concentration, for it is simply impossible to distract a Tranquil mage, and this makes them capable of becoming craftsmen of such skill that they rival even the adeptness of the dwarves. The Fomari, the branch of the circle devoted to item enchantment, is made up exclusively of Tranquil, and is the source of all the wealth that sustains our towers. From On Tranquility and the Role of the Fade in Human Society, by First Enchanter Josephus. Article 154, The Tevinter Imperium. The Imperium is little more than a dilapidated old slattern, crouching in the far north of Thedas, drunkenly cursing at passer-by to recall her faded beauty. One can see that Minrathous was once the center of the world. The vestiges of her power and artistry yet stand, but they are buried in the layers of filth that the Imperium's decadence has accumulated over the ages. The Magocracy live in elegant stone towers, literally elevated above the stench of the slaves and the peasants below. The outskirts of Minrathous are awash in a sea of refugees turned destitute by the never-ending war between the Imperium and the Korcari. And yet the Imperium survives. Whether with sword or magic, Tevinter remains a force to be reckoned with. Minrathous has been besieged by men, by Korcari, by Andraste herself, and never fallen. From In Pursuit of Knowledge, The Travels of a Chantry Scholar, by Brother Genetivi. Article 158, The Grey Wardens. The first Blight had already raged for 90 years. The world was in chaos. A god had risen, twisted and corrupted. The remaining gods of Tevinter were silent, withdrawn. What writing we have recovered from those times is filled with despair, for everyone believed, from the greatest archons to the lowliest slaves, that the world was coming to an end. At Weishaupt Fortress, in the desolate Underfells, a meeting transpired. Soldiers of the Imperium, seasoned veterans who had known nothing their entire lifetimes except hopeless war, came together. When they left Weishaupt, they had renounced their oaths to the Imperium. They were soldiers, no longer. They were the Grey Wardens. The Wardens began an aggressive campaign against the Blight, striking back against the Darkspawn, reclaiming lands given up for lost. The Blight was far from over, but their victories brought notice, and soon they received aid from every nation in Thedas. They grew in number as well as reputation. Finally, in the year 992 of the Tevinter Imperium, upon the Silent Plains they met the Archdemon Dumat in battle. A third of all the armies of northern Thedas were lost to the fighting, but Dumat fell and the Darkspawn fled back underground. Even that was not the end. The Imperium once revered 7 gods: Dumat, Zazakel, Toth, and Doril, Razakael, Lusican, and Erethmiel. 4 have risen as archdemons. The Grey Wardens have kept watch through the ages, well aware that peace is fleeting and that their war continues until the last of the dragon gods is gone. From Ferelden, Folklore and History, by Sister Petrine, Chantry Scholar. Article 159, The Korcari Wilds. It is said that in the midst of the Black Age, when the werewolves stalked the lands of Ferelden in numbers that kept every farmholder indoors and a hound on every doorstep, a powerful Arl of the Alamari peoples stood and declared that he would put an end to the threat. His Arling stood on the border of the Dark Forest on the southern border of the Ferelden Valley, and he claimed that the werewolves used the forest to launch their midnight assaults on humanity. For 20 years, this Arl led an army of warriors and hounds deep into the forest. In his hunt for the werewolves, he slew not only every wolf he came upon, but also every member of the chastened wilder folk. Any one of them, he said, could harbor a demon inside and thus be a werewolf in disguise. For 20 years the forest rang with screams and the rivers ran red. The tales say that an old chastened woman found her sons all dead at the Earl's blades. She pulled one of those very blades from one son's heart and plunged it deep into her own chest, cursing the Earl's name as she did so. Where her blood touched the ground, a mist began to rise. It spread and spread until it was everywhere in the forest. The Earl's army became lost, and it is said that they died there. Others say that they wander still. The ruins of his Arlings stand to this day, filled with the ghosts of women waiting eternally for their husbands to return. The forest of the legend is, of course, the Korcari Wilds. There are as many legends about the Great Southern Forest as there are shadows, or so the saying goes. The chastened wilder folk have made their home there since mankind first came to these lands, and the wild lands spread as far into the south as anyone has ventured. Far beyond the mists are vast tracts of snow, white-capped mountains, and entire fields of ice. It is a land too cold for mankind to survive, yet the chastened eke out an existence even there, and they tell of horrors beyond the wilds that the lowland folk could not begin to comprehend. To most, Ferelden simply ends with the Korcari Wilds. There is nothing beyond. The Wilds is a land of great trees, wet marshes, and dangerous monsters. What more need be said? From Land of the Wilders by Mother Alis, Chantry Scholar, 918 Dragon. Article 160, Darkspawn, Those who had sought to claim heaven by violence destroyed it. What was golden and pure turned black. Those who had once been mage lords, the brightest of their age, were no longer men but monsters. Thernades 12:1. Sin was the midwife that ushered in the Darkspawn into this world. The Magisters fell from the Golden City, and their fate encompassed all our worlds, for they were not alone. No one knows where the Darkspawn come from. A dark mockery of men in the darkest place they thrive, growing in numbers as a plague of locusts will. In raids they will often take captives, dragging their victims alive into the deep roads, but most evidence suggests that they are eaten. Like spiders, it seems Darkspawn prefer their food still breathing. Perhaps they are simply spawned by the darkness. Certainly we know that evil has no trouble perpetuating itself. The last Blight was in the Age of Towers, striking once again at the heart of Tevinter, spreading south into Orlais and east into the Free Marches. The plague spread as far as Ferelden, but the withering and twisting of the land stopped well beyond our borders. Here, Darkspawn have never been more than the stuff of legends. In the northern lands, however, particularly Tevinter and the Underfells, they say Darkspawn haunt the hinterlands, preying on outlying farmers and isolated villages, a constant threat. From Ferelden, Folklore and History, by Sister Patrine, Chantry Scholar. Article 165. King Cailan Theron. I'd hoped for a war like in the tales, a king riding with the fabled Grey Wardens against a tainted god. Son of the legendary King Mac Tir, Cailan was the first Ferelden king born into a land free from foreign rule in 2 generations. Since his father's death, he's held the throne alongside his queen Aeonar. Article 169. Duncan. Men and women from every race, warriors and mages, barbarians and kings, the Grey Wardens sacrificed everything to stem the tide of darkness, and prevailed. Like many others, Duncan gave up his family name when he joined the ranks of the Wardens, a symbolic gesture of cutting ties. He might say this was a convenience in his case, however. His mother was from the Underfells, his father from Tevinter. His childhood was spent in the marches and Orlais. His people were everywhere, and his homeland was nowhere. He was given the almost impossible task of leading the Wardens in Ferelden, a kingdom that had thrown the Order out 200 years earlier. Facing local suspicion and hostility, he set about finding recruits. Article 174. Knight-Commander Greagoir. Our magic is a gift, but it is also a curse. The Circle of Magi has trained you, and we Templars of the Chantry stand vigil to ensure that training is adequate. Grim and taciturn, Greagoir has been Knight Commander of the Templar forces stationed at the Circle Tower for so many years that hardly anyone except the First Enchanter recalls that he is not simply part of the tower itself. Article 177. First Enchanter Irving. If you want to survive, you must learn the rules and realize that sometimes sacrifices are necessary. There is no higher office in a Circle Tower than that of First Enchanter. The one who holds this title must not only be an able administrator, but also a mentor, leader, and surrogate parent to all the mages of the tower. Irving has proven himself to be all these things with an added dose of cunning. Most apprentices know that little goes on in the tower that Irving does not know. He can soothe Templars angered by some childish magical prank at the same time that he lauds the pranksters, and everyone walks away satisfied. Article 180. Loghain Mac Tir. It takes more than legends to win a battle. Loghain was born a farmer during a time when his country was under foreign occupation. When he was still a boy, he joined the resistance, where his considerable tactical genius would quickly become apparent. He became close friends with Prince Maric, the last true heir to the Ferelden throne, and together they led the rebels to drive out the forces of the Orlesian Empire. Maric raised his friend to the nobility, and Loghain is now more of a symbol than a man. He represents the Ferelden ideals of hard work and independence. Whew. Okay. Now that that is over and done with, this is the longest episode I've ever recorded, and that is because of Codex Entries. But on that note, this is the last of the origins. Or at least the opening origins. Character backgrounds and such. And so, I hope to see you in the next episode of this, whatever episode that will be. Until then, bye-bye.